Okay. Hi, everybody. Hello. Hello. Hi. Remember on Friday when I was like, this is the quietest you're all going to be. And here we are. I love it. Well, here, say hi to everybody at home. Hi. Okay. Sorry, not to make you all dizzy at home. Okay, so today, this afternoon, we're going to talk principles of alignment and foundational poses. That's what it's going to look like. We'll be chatting, have some lecture, and we will be moving. So you all have your mats, which is great. So there's going to be some movement. We'll be doing some different things with that. So just you kind of know what the afternoon looks like. Okay. So let's do just a quick check. Like how are we doing? Fist to 5. What's energy look like? Have you done fist to 5 yet? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wow. All right. Strong. Okay. Okay. See, well, you're doing, wow, you're all doing pretty darn good. Like, this is pretty great. Yeah, I would say I'm about 4. I will say I left. So Austin came home and Pete's been like so chill, the puppy napping. He and the cats have been like just like lovely today. And then he was a little monster when I left. I'm all, bye. Have fun. I was like, your turn. And now you get him like this, a little crazy man. So that was pretty funny. Yes, let's see. So how I'm curious. Does everybody know everyone's names yet? No.
No, we should do it again.
Well, I'm curious, does anybody feel like they could say everybody's name? Oh, you too. Okay. Okay. Well, who wants to give it a go? Nathaniel really wants to, and then so does, okay, well, we can both try. You go different directions. Okay. Yeah, sure.
I will say no one on the, well, maybe on the laptop, but it's hard to see. I have to see their face.
Yeah.
I feel like that's good, but-
Well, we have Anna and Tisa online, so yeah.
So
But that's not fair because their names are right there.
So, Eden, Amber. Dude, actually, no, I feel like I got this one beat.
You're not nailing it.
I'm not nailing it.
It starts now.
Is it?
Yes.
I was gonna say it, I was like, no, it's probably wrong. Ari, Sophia, Lacey, Jacob, Daniel,
I got my name.
Trevor, Reba, Alexis, Peggy, Lexi, and no. Why is it Sierra?
Yeah, I gave you so many nicknames. You're just like, I don't know.
Love it. Okay,
missing.
Alexis, you give it a go too.
That one's Ashlyn.
Really?
Then Sierra, Lexi, Peggy, Reva, Trevor, Stephanie, Nathaniel, Jacob, Lacey, Sophie, not Sophia, right?
Other way.
Sophia.
Yes.
Dang it, I keep switching it. Ari, Leslie, Amber, and Eden, and obviously Anna and Lisa.
Love it. Nicely done, y'all. Very good. Did that help you all a little bit? Yeah, right? Just to kind of, yeah,
And we all move.
I know. I know. That will be the challenge. It will be, yes, the challenge to try to get you to change your spots for next month. I challenge you. Or not. Some of you are like, absolutely not. I'm a creature of habit and I will go to where I am comfortable. And I get it. So you do you. Nicely done. Good work. So can we just commit though, if you forget someone's name, that you can just ask, tell me your name again. Is that all right? Like, are you okay with that? Everyone? Yeah, right. I mean, it's definitely a soft skill as a yoga teacher to learn your students' names. So it's good to practice in the training together with one another as well. And you will know each other's name. Don't worry. But I think by the end of next month, you'll probably have everybody's names down for sure. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, great. Well, we can do it. We'll do it again. So, we can do it again and again. And as many times as you all want to do it. I love it. Let's see. How are your brains doing with like information? Are we feeling okay? Feeling all right? So, Austin was like, they've taken in a lot of new stuff. So I hope this afternoon will be, that it's just meant to, I think this is fun. I love this next little bit of talking about all this stuff we're going to talk about. A lot about asana is where we're diving in and looking at some various poses and just like principles that we have here at Cambio and all of that. So it's meant to be conversational, and obviously you're going to be feeling it in your body. If you remember in 200, if you're with me, I'm always like, if I'm like, well, what do you think about that pose? And then what do I always make you do? Feel it, do the pose and feel it, right? So we're going to do a lot of that, play around with that this afternoon as well. Let's see. And what else do I want to say? For those of you who don't know me, just so you know, quick little background. So I'm the coordinator for the program, and I've been teaching. Next month will be my 21-year anniversary of teaching yoga, which is weird. I'm like, I feel, it feels like I'm lying when I say that. I'm like, is that even true? Like, how is that true? I'm like, because I feel like I've never done anything that long, right? Ever. It's like that. Other than being alive, because I'm 25. Wink, wink. No. Yeah, so that's really exciting. So I will, I just love to talk about this, and I love to just share kind of my experience with all this stuff too. But this is all about what you all have to contribute and bring to it as well. So please speak up and share and give your insights as well. Like, they're all great and valid wherever you're all coming from with this kind of stuff. So, and if you all have questions about me, those of you who like haven't done the 200 and haven't like sat in with me yet when I kind of give my long spiel about stuff, feel free to ask away anytime. I'm a pretty open book about all things yoga and my life, and all that jazz. Okay, so let's take a look at, well, first, this is in your manual, but if someone could read this, it's up here on the whiteboard. Don't worry, at home, and then we're going to open the manual in a second here. So someone who can see that, someone read that out loud. Go ahead, Liz.
A state of balance of ease and effort, both physically and energetically, that supports and encourages full, deep breath and cultivates inner authority.
So this is the definition of alignment. This is in your manual. How does that feel to you when you read that or hear that? So Reba, will you read it again?
A state of balance of ease and effort, both physically and energetically, that supports and encourages full, deep breath and cultivates inner authority.
What stands out to you with that? Ease and effort? Tell me more.
Just that's always the goal. It's not necessarily the best looking or most impressive version of a pose. It's trying to find that balance of ease and effort.
Yeah. What else?
Inner authority stands out.
Tell me more. Inner authority.
This inner authority, just I guess assertiveness comes to mind.
Assertiveness.
Maybe take
And responsibility, right? You get to decide, right? You get to decide. Yeah. What else? Anything else? Yeah, Steph.
Physically and energetically, you know, all the stuff that we've been working on, the energetic level coupled with the physical level. And to me, that's the hardest part for me to learn.
Oh, the energetics of it.
The energetic part, not the energy.
Yeah, right.
You know, and how to teach that and how to witness it in a student.
Ooh, we're gonna talk about that. It's like you're a plant. I love it. I love it. That's so good. Yeah.
Got that yesterday. Amber.
I love that. Anything else?
I like supports and encourages, just as
from a teacher's perspective.
Yeah.
Support and encouragement, that's kind of what we as teachers do, but that you can also do for yourself within your own practice.
Yes.
I think that that's important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Great. Okay, so let's open up your manuals and I will share the screen at home for you all. So you can open it or not. You choose how you best want to look at this all. And then we're 2.2 in the manual, which is about like page 17. You? No, you don't have to use your phone. But, yeah. Okay, so as we kind of dive into alignment here, and we're going to look at this in the sense of how this is supporting our asana, and that this is these next 5 little bits is like how we get to use the asana for all of these things, right? We're going to utilize asana to help with this. And what I'll say when we look at this definition of alignment, right? There's a yoga sutra, I think, that very much reflects this one. Does anybody know? You're not there yet, I don't think, in the book, but it's a pretty popular one. Anyone? Huh? 2.2, clip 2.46. So yoga stiram sukhanam, right? Our yoga should be both steady and easeful or joyful, right? When we start to look at that one. So you can jot that one down and dive into that one later. It's one of my most favorite ones because I think, especially teaching asana in public classes, is a great one to theme your class on at any point in time. And also a good reminder too of like, oh yeah, we're trying to find this when we're practicing, when we're teaching with our students. And also looking at maybe the culture of yoga in a sense of what are we aiming for in our classes, right? We're trying to find the steadiness and ease. We're not here to try to kick their butts, right? That's not our goal. I mean, that can sometimes happen, but that's not, well, I don't know. That's not my goal when I'm teaching, right? I don't try that to be my plan. But we are trying to build some strength, some stamina, some stability, some flexibility, all those things start to happen. Oh, we left the door unlocked for you. Thanks, Ryan. Thank you. Let's see. Okay. All right, let's go through. Let's look at, so where this in support of asana, let's start with number 1 here. If someone would read that first one out loud, please. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Facilitate and maximize our body's natural alignment.
Yes, love that. I mean, that seems pretty straightforward, right? Pretty straightforward to look at that. That for each person, there's not a one size fits all, right? Are we finding this in the manual?
I thought I was reading something different, so I'm glad that I didn't. Yeah, what's the topic say?
Page 17, this is Cambio yoga alignment principle.
Yeah, I have a 17, but what about? Oh, right, here, okay, yeah, so it's, yeah.
I mean, it would be page 17 if you had page numbers. Yeah.
17.
There you go. Yeah, and this is, I think, that reminder, there's not a one size fits all, right? This doesn't say that alignment has to be exactly a particular way. We don't come at it from that way at Cambio either. I think you all probably know that already from practicing here, that we're definitely about giving people permission to do what they need to do. It's not like holding this firm line of like, your triangle must look like this, right? We don't hold that with our school here. It's like, figure out what works for you. We're going to guide you in a particular direction, but you figure out what works for you. Yeah. All right. How about number 2?
Establish meaningful relationship with our
What does that look like when we think about asana? How is that supported when we're practicing asana?
for inhaling, highlighting the breath. Like before teaching it, make sure you're highlighting,
Mm-hmm.
then exhaling, turn more inward, or like more fold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nathaniel?
It'd also be like the relationship with the breath that, say like, for as long as you are exhaling, that's as long as you are going into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Having that awareness of the breath for sure. Yeah. Reba?
I'm using breath for pacing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what, think 360 breathing, getting people to even do that, to simply, can they breathe with that 360 breath? Have you heard that before? 360, right? Using the full lung capacity, like all the way around. And then noticing when it's non-existent, that's going to show up, and there are particular asanas. I think that when you are teaching, that you will notice that you're like, everybody's holding their breath right now. What kind of poses might that happen? Half moon. Mm-hmm. Twists, back bends, balancing. A lot of them, right? There'll be a lot. Whenever it's hard, our tendency can be like to do this, right? Sometimes we contract, we hold our breath. So that reminder for us to encourage people to step into their breath. Okay. Number 3.
To build strength, balance, and flexibility for functional movement.
So we utilize all these things. For me, that functional movement part is just critical, I think, when we start to look at what kind of teacher do you want to be? What do you want to convey with your classes and the way you're teaching, how you're teaching, and what you're teaching? What does that look like for you all? What do you think? Can you answer that? What kind of teacher do you want to be? Or are you? Do you know? Some of you are like, I'm still in 200. I don't know yet. I'm working on that. Give me a couple months. That's okay. That's fair.
I want to be a teacher who teaches authentically and who is also educated in the safety of the functional movement so that people feel comfortable to keep coming back and learning and growing their practice. So creating that container for that it does feel safe to do that because they know they're going to be guided in a way that's authentic and safe.
Yes, love that, Eden. Yeah.
I'd like to add to that, just empathy, adding empathy to the class and to facilitate a place of belonging.
Love that. Yes. What else? Yeah, Reba and then Lexi.
I'd like to be the kind of teacher that is there to facilitate that student's own growth and whatever that looks like to that person. And that can facilitate how different and new and how not perfect or not right or wrong a post can be.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, Lexi.
I'm gonna be the one who encourages them to go past their own self-limitations, but still be a safe space for them to know that their abilities are okay. Enough.
Yeah, right. Same. Yeah, Amber.
I strive to take a playful or silly approach so that we don't take it too seriously because I am the person that's too serious.
There you go. That's what one of my teachers used to say. We can take our practices seriously, but not ourselves. Yeah, right. Because we can get real. I know I can get real. If you've taken my class before, I'm like, the rows need to be nice and neat. But then when I'm teaching, I try to loosen up. But I'm like, I know the atmosphere I need to have where I gotta be like, let's be like this, and where I can loosen up and play for sure. Yeah. How about for you, Ryan?
I really like to help people achieve that more authentic realization of what are you actually feeling. I like to feel the different extremes. I want asana to be hard, but I want it to be hard so you know how soft you can be. So that's what I like.
Well, that's fun too. Yeah, right. There's no wrong answer to this, right? Yeah, go ahead, Steph.
Ditto to what everyone said, basically. But to, you know, to really create a welcoming environment, because some people, they may be a little intimidated, or,
Mhm.
you know, they don't know where to sit, or they don't know anybody, just to try to establish a welcoming environment. And then to encourage everyone to go to their point, their maximum point that they feel, that if they can fall, do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't just, fall, go ahead and fall and come back into it, you know, and then if you feel like that you're a little overwhelmed, that you have permission to just stop,
Yep.
you know, because people push through it and get frustrated and.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Yeah.
So, I guess the main word would be, you know, welcoming, just welcome to the space and welcome to your personal practice.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah.
you do.
How do we do this when we think asana? How do we create safe space, empathy, and keep it welcoming? How do we do that when we're thinking strictly asana in class? How does that translate for you? Yeah.
I think smart cueing, like
Cueing,
careful cueing, consent. with
Mhm. Consent.
And then really mindful assist, being very mindful, and if you are going to get into somebody's practice in somebody's space, that the offering you're giving them is appropriate for what they're doing and to help them get to something deeper
Yeah.
or experience it different. So you're not just like, oh, very nice, like
Yeah.
you're there because you're doing something, you
Yeah.
know, like there's a
Purpose.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you're doing great.
Yeah, good job, kitty.
Sacrum
Uh-huh.
act.
Yeah.
But what I mean, like giving, yeah, mindful adjustments
Mhm.
so that it feels comfortable, and then the communication during adjustments, during certain peak poses after class, like, hey, how was this for you? What do you think about X, Y, and Z? Being very specific with those things, with your students.
Yeah. Getting some feedback. Yeah, love that. Amber?
To piggyback off that, and somebody had mentioned, or they touched on it this morning, but to be able to assess the individual that you're looking at is a skill, because if you've got 20 students, you're looking at 20 different practices. and To
Yes.
see them objectively is, you're kind of your own echo chamber. You're like, oh, well, you can push your knee out a little bit, but it's like, what really needs to happen? What will enhance that
Yes.
particular, that one minute?
How do we do that? Ooh, I get so excited about this. I'm sorry. How do you all do that? I can tell you how I do it, but what do you all think? How does that work for you? How do you figure that out? That's weird. What did I always say in the 200? What did I say? Like, when I'm like, when you quit teaching, or when you quit when you quit the 200, what do you got to maintain?
Your own practice.
Your own practice. So if you're practicing, these things start to come to you, right? That saying that I practice for my students, I teach for myself. Have you heard that expression before? This is where a lot of that comes into place. So when you get on your mat, and maybe not every time you practice, but maybe specific classes you go to where you're like, well, I'm really going to like think about every 3 or 4 poses, or maybe I'll just get in a pose and be like, ooh, what if I do this? Like, you're exploring on your own, but it's your personal practice, and you're thinking like, oh, how could I then translate this to my students? Finding those ways. That's a really big way in which you can start to figure that out. And the more bodies you look at, the more you'll start to see, the more it's really paying attention. When you're like watching class, and if you say, what were we in? Utkatasana last week in my last Wednesday's class, and I was like, okay, now sit a little bit deeper. And everybody went, whoop, and it was a simple cue, and I laughed. I'm like, so what were you all waiting for? Why weren't you sitting? Why weren't you there before? Because we find our own little, like, our comfort, our own personal edges that we think we have. And then our teacher says, oh, try this. And then you're like, oh, maybe I can, right? We pushes the edge a little bit of like what we think is possible for ourselves. So it's real simple. Yeah, Steph.
And to that, clear, audible, and concise cueing Because sometimes, you know, I don't understand what the teacher was saying, or I
Yeah.
can't hear them. And then I'm like, the cue's like lost, and I'm like, what am I, and I just, it kind of
Yeah.
discombobulating.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, and that, the welcoming, and then it's like you put on the instructor hat,
Yeah.
you know, so that you're heard and you're understood and
Mhm.
it's concise.
Yeah, right. I mean, I love teachers that are flowery with their language, but sometimes when they're like, and ground down like the tree to the, and they're, you know, and reach towards the, and I'm like, okay, like, you know, they're like, reach to the heavens and feel the stars in your fingers. It's like, let's not feel the stars in my fingers right now, you know, whatever, I don't know, but like, it's like, tell me what to do with my hands. Like, sometimes we get a little too metaphorical with it, so I think those are great, but like, balance those out with some clear and concise cues, because not everybody, and this is part of my yoga therapy background, not everybody can visualize. So when you say imagine a sunset, some people cannot imagine a sunset, which to me is like wild, but that's, I can, because it's like one of my most favorite things in the world. And I have to remember, not everybody can do that. And actually one of our teachers here, she can't, and she'll openly, sure, if you could ask her about it, Jen Barks, if you know her at all, she teaches the in-betweeners. She will constantly, and she's very direct. Jen is very, she's just kind of spicy and direct, and I love her. And she will just be like, I can't visualize. So don't tell me to picture a mountainy, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can't do it. Like, I cannot, she can't do it. So we have to be careful of that when we do that. Can we find a balance between those images, that imagery, and being clear and concise with our cues? Mhm. Isn't that wild?
Says a lot, because I went to someone's class for the first time last weekend. And they said, like, okay, downward dog, heels towards the floor. Ignore the other body. Like, oh my God, right in the, but, you know, and what I got out of that was, you know, different experience for me, still a great class, but it was just, there's something to be said for clear and concise.
Yeah.
It really is. So to
Mhm.
really, like you said, to find that balance.
Mhm.
You know, there was a lot of guys in the class. It was a guy teaching, and I was like, a lot of people don't want
The woo. A lot of people don't want the wooey. Mhm.
you're feeling.
I mean, I like the woo. I love the woo. Mhm.
So anyway, there is a class for everyone.
Yep.
But, you know,
Mhm. And it's figuring out your style in the mix of it too, because some of you are going to be more woo than others. Some of you are going to be more focused on like maybe more anatomy, and then like something in the between, right? And that's perfect. That's what's so great about it, is that you each get to find your own unique way and your experience that you can bring into the mix. Yeah. Mhm. Yes. Okay. What's next? Where are we? I don't even know. Let's see. Number 4, is that where we are? Yeah. Number 4. Okay. Somebody read that one, please.
It is a form of guided meditation that, from the teacher's standpoint, is measurable.
Mm-hmm. This is where I love this, because this is, you can see this. Yeah. For those of you who are already teaching, can you see this? Have you seen this in your students before? Yeah. Right. This is like such a beautiful thing to get to witness when your students get into that zone. Who's seen it, and what can you say to that? Anything about it you've noticed or experienced here?
I've noticed you can see like a shift. It's almost like, not for everybody, obviously,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's like just that aha moment. Like if you can see it in like students' eyes too.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily yoga student, I meant like high school or college, but like that almost like aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's very uplifting. It's very like,
Yep.
man, I want to do more of that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I often, when I see that happen in class, I shout it out. I tell everyone, I'm like, y'all are focused. Like, that was beautiful. Or I'll let them flow on their own and just be like, okay, go next round on your own, you know, like, and you're like, it's like you're at an art museum, right? And you're just all, you get to see some dance. And it's so great. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yes. Yes, that's a good cue for, yeah, when that breath is connected. What about on the flip side? What about if they're not breathing? What if you're like, hello? Is anybody in there?
I want to hear everyone's breath.
And still you don't. Mhm.
I make breathing with them.
Yeah, breathe with them for one.
Sometimes I'll be like, okay, we're all gonna take like collective breaths together.
Yep.
And don't exhale, and if you don't do it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get like back on track. And sometimes I'll say like, let's get back on track with our breath, everybody.
Yeah.
Cause I can see that we're holding or it's a little, getting a little swirly. Let's get back in.
Yeah. And so let's talk about that. For those of you who are like, oh my God, I've not even taught a yoga class yet, right? So let's think about how we do that. So you can do it in something like down dog, right? You could be like everyone in down dog. And sometimes we'll be like, let's let out a sigh, like put some noise to it, put some sound to it, give them that. Sometimes I'll do breath of joy. Some of you have done that one yet. Or I'll do a really easy one that you can do. When was it? I think it was right after the election when I taught. I was like, let's do this one. So you come, you do like, you take a big breath in and you go, "Ah," and you just like let it out. Cause you could feel the class was like holding on. Everybody was tense. They're holding on. It's just like constricted. Nobody's relaxing. No one's letting go. Everyone's just like in their heads. So you can do something, you can sneak a bit like that into the mix. And you encourage people to make some sound and have them go like 3 to 5 times or something. And there's always someone who'll be real into it and go, "Ugh," when they go down. And then it makes everybody laugh, which then lightens the mood. And that also helps people to be like, to get out of their heads a little bit, bring that sense of humor, right? To bring that element into. Yeah, sometimes it might be you. Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, it could be you. Yeah, it might be
I'm
you.
just like,
Mhm.
that's fine.
Yes.
Quiet.
Mhm,
That
Steph.
point, those of you who are taught and everything, how long do you encourage the Ujjayi breath? Or do you just like stop it? Because I've never heard like take away Ujjayi breath or just, you can breathe in and out your mouth now, yeah.
I wanted to say that when you find it during child's pose, what I like to do is I always like to tell them to remember the constriction and the heat that you're building with the power that you have in your practice.
Right.
And then I have them release it during their spinal twisting when they release that in the ground.
Yeah, I used to do somewhere. So, okay, I didn't understand that. So all through the practice,
So you'll
you're
have,
doing Ujjayi breathing?
yeah,
Mhm.
you do the collective.
I
breath
do the whole
together.
class. I do until Shavasana.
Okay.
I Ujjayi all the way to the end.
But sometimes I hear a teacher cue, okay, in and out your mouth, in your nose, out your mouth, as opposed to,
Sometimes like when I have them meet back in downward facing dog, I'll do like 2 sighs
okay,
and then I'll have them find their breath through the nose again.
okay, so you actually cue them to do that.
Mhm.
Got it, okay.
Mhm.
Usually the teacher would do like mouth breathing, like it's really hot. Like summer, heated class, that's normally when, because it's a cooling breath. So if you're like really hot, I might just be like, take a deep breath in, out, and then seal the lips, so that.
Because ideally you're doing it the entire time, ideally, but that's hard, as we know, right? It's hard to do it consistently the entire time. Yeah. Okay, next one. Where are we at? Number 5.
To prepare the body for pranayama.
Yeah, so pranayama and meditation, I would throw that into the mix as well, right? So we're using the asana to help prepare that, and then of course shavasana, right? Yay. Biggest one. Okay, let's see here. All right, we've got our definition there of alignment. And now we're going to look here at these posture alignment principles. So we're going to play with this, and this is where we start to look at today, and I think just in the training and in general, that you'll be wearing two different hats. So you'll often have your student hat on and you'll have your teacher hat on. You'll always have the student hat on, right? I think no matter how, right? Like always, I'm always learning. We're never stop being a student. But that teacher hat will come on and, we'll kind of go back and forth between like, how do I experience this for myself? And then how do I experience this as a teacher trying to explain this to my students? So it's like you kind of bounce back and forth between the two. So we're gonna kind of play around with that a little bit. And remember, it's not one size fits all, right? This isn't like, there's not one way to feel all the things. But this stuff that we're going to do will give you an opportunity to kind of experience some of these things. So before we dive into these next principles, we're going to experiment. We're going to feel something. Okay. So what we all need is we need 2 blocks and a strap. So friends at home, if you have something like that, whether it's a scarf or belt or you name it, we're going to have you grab that. Okay. How are we doing with snacks? Good. Feel happy about snacks. Tell you, I love being like, will they like these? How about these? Ryan, will you be my model?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I always wanted to be model.
You are a model, Ryan.
That's how my daughter should get jealous.
I don't want to put too much in because of you. Okay, so we're gonna play with a variation of fish pose, kind of a more activated fish, okay? Because I don't want you to be like a sleepy time fish, and then like, and now I'll focus. No, that's mean. I wouldn't want it to do that for you all. So what I'm gonna have Ryan do is have a seat. Want to scoot that way, Ryan, a little bit. Perfect. Okay. And you can play with the block in a couple of ways here. So I'm going to put the strap down here first, and then the block can either go this way. So it's going to go kind of right like along like bra line-ish area, kind of right behind the heart, or you can do it vertical right up and down parallel with the spine. So you can kind of, do you have a preference? Do you like this way? Okay. So I'm going to have you lie back. Fine. Oh, go. Your head. Now you can do this height, you can make it taller. You can pick whatever feels. Do you like, does this feel good or do you want to, yeah, feel good? Okay, then I'm gonna have you reach out for the straps, please. And then legs can be, I would say, make them active. So either point, flex, floint, your choice, whatever you want to do. And now extend your arms straight out.
With the strap?
Yep, with the strap, and pull. Give it a nice big pull. So we're gonna play here with this, experiencing this. I'm sleep breathing and I'm going through all that we sort of discussed. And then what I'm gonna have Ryan do is take his arms up overhead, still holding onto the strap this way. Along the, there we go. And pulling, okay? So I'm gonna have you all do this as well, but just so you can get a chance to see what this looks like. So let's come on down. And you want the strap hooked here on the bottom of your block, okay? Did it move? It may have moved from you. It came up. You may need to stagger because as your arms go out, unless you have really bonded with your new friend, and you want and you want you're like, please put your face in or your hand in my face. Okay, so start first with arms going straight on out and really pull. Use that strap, give it a pull.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, go on.
And then let us know if you're having a hard time getting in or if you have questions. So cozy. I had someone in class recently that she was like right up against the plants, and every time she come up, she like smacked the face on it. I was like, "Are you okay with that?" She's like, "Oh, it's kind of fun. I don't mind." I was like, "All right."
In the jungle.
Is the strap at the bottom? Yeah, the strap is at the base of the block. So Sophia, move the strap so you have it under your block. So you just want one along your spine. Oh. Okay, so it's gonna be right here. Okay. And then you lie back. Okay. And then this one will be for your head. So you can kind of take that. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Does it matter palms up or palms down? It doesn't matter. Play with it. If it feels good, palm up or down, how does that feel to you? What are we noticing with arms out? What is that? Opens the rib cage. What else? Drawing a scapula. Scapulae together. Can you tuck your ribs in though when you do that? I would encourage you to. What is this? What is this pose? What can this look like? This with the arms. Airplane. What else? Warrior 2. Yeah. Does your warrior 2 feel like this in your torso? No. Why not?
There's an anterior tilt to your hips. In warrior 2, there's not a tip like that. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean just arms, just
Just arms.
torso.
Okay.
Just arms, not legs. What about when you take it up overhead? Ascended mountain. Crescent lunge. Back bend. Yeah, you're definitely getting a back bend. What else? What if you stick a leg up into the sky? Utkatasana. Do the other leg. What else? You make this shape in class. I know you. Huh?
Down dog?
No. Well, down dog, but with the leg up in the air, what does this? No. No. You dare say that, Ari. Look around. Leslie, will you put your leg back up? Now look at Leslie, everybody.
Warrior 3.
If you changed if something else were the base.
Warrior 3.
Thank you. Thanks, Sierra. Yes, warrior 3. This is a warrior 3, friends. It's a recline. This is Supta Virabhadrasana, right? Basically, you're doing it. Okay, now I want you to come on up. Yes. Yes, I'm teaching that tonight in my class. That's my peak pose tonight. This week. I love Warrior 1. Warrior 1's like my fave. Yeah, it's so good. Oh, well, guess how you start loving a pose? Do them. I know you're all exposure therapy. That's what you do. Exactly. Okay. Let's take a moment, grab your notebook or some kind of way, however you do your notes for yourself. And take a little moment and just say, notice how did that feel in your body? Using the strap being there, having it more active, just kind of through what we discussed. Has it been doing this all day? I never use the easel.
Well, isn't it usually shorter?
There's a way better.
Oh.
Let's burn it.
Yeah. Let's just not use it anymore. How about that?
Can you imagine if that would have fallen on the ground?
Oh my God.
Yeah, Sam was like sitting right next to it.
Oh my God. Yeah. We want.
It'll like clip. You put it out, it'll be like.
It's haunted.
Yeah,
Yes. We'll just. Okay, Ryan, if you wanna, Ryan's the artiste, so. Okay, my next question is, what can it prepare you for? I'm gonna write all this. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, write stuff down. We'll talk about it. Okay, next question is, where in class could it go? Okay, I have more questions. We'll discuss these. We're gonna use these when we talk about some other poses later as well. Sorry for my handwriting. I know it's terrible. Okay. We're gonna go in class. If when setting it up, what would you want to be mindful of?
That's a block isn't too low.
Yeah, where that block placement might be. And we'll, after you all kind of jot this down, we'll go back through and we'll answer these kind of together.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. You're good. Hey, you're fine. I didn't give the rules. You're good. And then we'll think about who would this be great for? Like what group of people might really benefit from a pose like this? And that's the short answer for sure. And then let's think about how could it feel in a beginner's body? We're going to be asking these questions for a lot of the things we're doing today. Love that Ryan is like efficient. I'm like, or just throw it away.
Not too many. Can make it better.
I'll tell Austin. I'm like, unanimously, the vote is to get a new easel. What?
I said, Amber had said, we should burn it. And I said, and 2 votes for burning.
And 2 votes for burning. I love it. Love it. Okay, let's go through. So knowing how did it feel? How did it feel for you? Felt good? Never feels good? Mm. Did you use small block or which one? Small, even the small ones, and it was too much? Perfect. Yeah, that's good though. See, that's good to know. So that also can go to setting it up what you want to be mindful for as well, of like, not everybody does it feel good. And so sometimes, yeah, bolster or even a blanket, like just making it small, like a really small sort of elevated. Mhm. Yeah, that's
They're super
Mm. Yeah,
Even though we did engage her.
absolutely. Yeah. And it's releasing for the hip flexors, right? That this pose specifically releases hip flexors. So they get a little break from all the sitting, right? You've all been sitting a lot too. This is kind of the antithesis to what you've all been doing, the sitting around on this pose. That's why I throw this in here. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was like, I noticed with the straps specifically, like other muscle groups trying to overcompensate from sitting and from being just more, hurt today, I guess, like in more pain than usual. Like I could feel more of like, here, I could feel my low back trying to like compensate and be like, no, we're gonna put energy here. And then when you pull it up, the shoulders are trying to like, ugh, and you're like, no,
Mhm.
back here. So that was my experience with it.
Yeah. Yep. Do we like that other than Ari? Which is fair. It's fair. You don't have to like the pose, right?
Like it today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, I really like supported fish. I dislike fish, anything in any other, I don't know what it is. Yes, I do. My back hurts
Yeah.
every time I get out
Yeah,
of it.
yes, I do. I know.
Was it- That is an non-truth. I know I don't like it because my back hurts every time, and I've tried shifting the blocks around. I've tried using a little bolster or a blanket, and maybe it's just something about the anterior tilt, or maybe it's something about how long I hold it or the muscles I'm tensing.
Yeah.
But like when you're being mindful of what you're doing, kind of, I don't know how to say it other than relax the muscles you're not using completely and only tense or flex the muscles you're using.
Yeah.
And be mindful of which ones are which, because same as you, like I was raising over my head and all of a sudden I was tensing my legs and I was like, what, who is that going to serve? What was the purpose?
And that's where sometimes we learn there's poses where like, I just can't do them, right? They just don't work for me. And then sometimes we can be curious and be like, I wonder what's going on with why I am so resistant to this pose. Like, I wonder, is something else going on that if I worked on my ribs or my shoulder, or maybe I didn't prep myself enough, like whatever that might be, there can be other ways. So a lot of it is having our student hat on to be really curious because, and then with our students as well, to be like, oh, okay, interesting, right? Because you hear various perspectives. Some people are really loving it, it's feeling good, and some are like, not so much, right? And that's fair for everybody to have their own experience in the gamut of all of that. Yeah. Okay. So what can it prep you for? What could that be prep for? What poses? Yeah. Alexis?
Gonna say it could be prep for any kind of heart opener, but also it could be just something to balance the other motion in your back, like if you were to like that.
like seated forward fold. When there's more of that arch in your back, so it
Mhm.
could just be a balanced pose too.
Yep. Unwinding. Yep. What else?
The crescent and crescent moon, that same sort of
Yep.
for that.
Someone else said a pose earlier. What?
Warrior two.
Yep, definitely warrior two, but what else? The wheel, yeah, definitely wheel. 100% could prep for wheel. Right, when we think about the hip opening, the back bend, the shoulders, right, there's a lot going on there that could definitely be prep for it. Where in class could it go? Leslie? Didn't you say?
I mean, I think it go after your vinyasa dharma,
Mhm.
or right after bow pose.
Yeah, definitely there. Thought someone said it.
Right.
Yeah, it could be at the beginning and 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 so anywhere, right? Depending on your purpose, right? Depending on what you're wanting to use it for. Or maybe you only want to do the arms out and you're not even going to worry about doing the arms overhead, right? So depending on what your goal is and for it, like what might you want to use it for them? Yeah, you can start it. You can do it early, middle, or end of class. It's one of those that you can kind of sneak in anywhere, which is kind of nice. A lot of poses are like that, which is really lovely, I think. What do we want to be mindful for then when we're thinking about when we're setting this pose up for in our students? What do we want to kind of keep an eye out for? Yeah, Peggy? Yeah, they could feel vulnerable. So you don't want to be like lording over them. Yep. Lord of the fishes. A yoga joke. I love it. I love a yoga joke. It's okay. I love it. What else? What else we want to be mindful of? Yeah, Reba.
Maybe creaking the neck or like block placement being off
Yep.
in some way.
Yeah, just a block placement in general, like keeping an eye out to look, do they look comfortable? I mean, their face will often be like, if you're like, are you comfortable? Can I help you? Like they'll let you know. You can often see. Yeah, or if injuries, that's the other thing too, especially with the shoulders, to be really mindful. If you know someone has a shoulder injury, you may want to speak to that in your cueing, that you really address, like, hey, if you've got any shoulder stuff, don't force this, to be really mindful of that we don't want them to overdo it. Because some people can't put their arm up overhead. But I will say what is kind of interesting is people who often struggle like with this, you put them on their back and have them do this, and it can be more accessible because we're getting some of the different muscles out of the way when you're lying on your back versus when you're standing or more upright, which is kind of it gives people an opportunity to what? Yeah, gravity's in their favor. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Let's see what else. Who would this be good for? Oh, that's what you said. Everyone.
I think it's specifically computer use.
Yes. Tight shoulders, computers, office work kind of people. What else? Who else?
Even bodybuilders.
Athletes, 100%, right? To get range of motion, right? To have that range of motion. Because how many times do you see like those dudes at the gym and they're just all schnecks? This is their like world. Everything's like this. And if you say to do this pose, they're they're like, yeah, right. That's a tough one for them. So those sort of things to work on. I would say I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, moms, right? Carrying little babes around all the time. Like this gets brutal. I mean, just about anyone can benefit from it for sure. But you can start to think of like when you're working with people or if you have clientele or I've randomly over the years ended up working with a lot of estheticians and hairstylists randomly. I've had a lot of them that I work with. So stuff like this definitely shows up for them, right? Because they're constantly they're in like this repetitive motion with like hair doing all sorts of things. So they're like shoulders and necks and wrists do all sorts of funky things with all that repetitive motion. So thinking about like, who might be taking your classes, who's coming in, of like what poses can really benefit them. Okay. And then how about in a beginner's body? How might this feel?
Right.
Could be real intense. Mm-hmm.
Beginners are
Mhm.
just like everything, even breathing causes them pain.
Oh, for sure, right?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what am I supposed to feel?
Yep. Uh-huh. Yeah, I had someone a while ago, I was teaching I work at a birthing center where I teach the staff yoga, and a random nurse I'd never seen before, she came through and did the yoga, and I was like, okay, let's check in, like, how are you showing up? How are you feeling today? And she's like, I couldn't remember the last time I asked myself that question. I was all, what? Like, and so, because I say it all the time, and sometimes I wonder, like, are people like, shut up, like, why are you asking me this question? And like, that was like, of course I think about this. And it was such a good reminder that not everybody is thinking about, how am I showing up today? How am I feeling? How's my body? Where's my energy? What's my mind? What's my heart? Like, how is all of that doing? So she's like, I don't even know. She's like, interesting, or if someone's new to yoga, they might be like, I don't know. Like, that can just blow their minds right there, to be like, what? My body? I don't know. I just pull it around, that sort of thing. Mhm. Mhm. Um, Go back to that vulnerability piece, right? This could definitely be doing something like this in a heart opener. So I would definitely speak to that, of like, you may notice big sensations come up, and especially once you release it, right? Because in the moment you might be like, oh, this is good. But then when you come out, you want to give them a minute to like then roll out or slide the blocks out, however, to come out of it, so they can just kind of, oh, okay, like explore the sensations that come up after, because it can be big. Like some people, mm-hmm. For sure, right? It's a major heart opener and throat, right? So we're looking at two very vulnerable pieces, right? Especially when we think chakras, right? We got heart and throat, and like all that can symbolize for us. So, being aware of that as teachers is important. And you can, you don't have to speak to it all, but you can maybe drop those little golden nuggets of like, some things can come up, and that's okay if it does, because you will get people that will come up to you after class that may say like, whoa, I just wanted to cry after. And it's interesting, people say that, like they'll come up to you as a teacher and say that to you in a way that's like, bless you, where they're like, is that okay? Like, they don't know that it's okay to like actually for that to come up, because maybe they've never done yoga before, very limited, or they're athletic, but they've never done something that can access these kind of points. So it's good to speak to that with your students. And it's also okay if they don't have an emotional response. That can sometimes happen, weird, like competition-y things where people are like, well, I don't cry in yoga. Am I supposed to be crying in yoga? It's like, no, you don't have to cry in yoga. Yeah, what? You haven't cried yet? Down
My
dog.
husband makes fun of me for that very thing. Like, he's always like, you don't cry at movies, or you didn't cry when our kids were born. Do you have a heart? And I'm like, I guess not.
Oh, you didn't have to.
Nope.
Yeah, sure. That's so funny. Yeah, Ashlyn.
Like doing this pose reminded me of when I was in, I say we because there's like 3 people.
Yeah.
We're in 200. Doing the posture clinic specifically for camel.
Mm-hmm.
When after everybody came out of camel, there were like 13 of us in the room, and it was just dead silence for like 4 straight minutes, where we were all just like, because we all just did like super deep camels with like very like camel adjustments.
Yeah.
You're kind of just holding them more, but like
Mm-hmm.
came around, got adjusted, and at first we were all like, oh haha, like camel hurts so bad because you like your legs are engaged and your core is engaged, and so much of you, like so many of your muscles are turned on, and then we all came out of it, and all of us were just kind of like silence.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like we all obviously love yoga, but
Yeah.
take all of that and then put it on a beginner who's just like
I don't even know what to do with that, like, I don't
Mhm.
even know, what do I do for the rest of class, cause what do I do with that? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's where it's up to us as teachers, setting that space to share that with our students, you know, that can come up. That's the energetics that we start to talk about of like, it's more than physical that's going on when we are in this, you know, open, vulnerable position. Yeah.
On
Yeah.
that, this will be really quick, it might be smart if you have an evening class, 6:30, 7 PM and on, to maybe not do like a camel or a heart opener, because it can spike your metabolism and just make you stay up late or possibly.
Yeah, like back bends I mean, I think I wouldn't cut them, but I would not do like long, deep holds and back bends if you're teaching at night, evening classes, because they do give you energy. That's what back bends, they tend to boost the energy. So I always teach them, but we're not holding them for a long period of time. It's not to like rev the engine. It's more to like, let's open the body and kind of counter life. It's like this, let's counter and be more open. Mhm. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Okay, let's see. Let me see where. I feel like we have more to cover here, but you all just had lunch, right? Let's take a little, can we just take like a 5? In case you need to like pee, because you all just ate and I know how that goes. Does that sound okay? Take a quick 5? Okay, let's do a quick 5. All right, friends. Let's come back together. You are doing great at home, by the way. Way to hang in there. Okay. All right, friends, are we back? Can we be back? We're back, thank you. And we're back. Yes, we're recording. ABR, always be recording. Mhm. Okay. Have you ever gone to a yoga class before and been like, how did the teacher know exactly what I needed today? You're like, how did they know? How did they know? What?
Almost
Yeah, right. Well, so this next little section, I think, is kind of ways, this is like, so the Wizard of Oz is my favorite movie. We're gonna pull back the curtain a little bit. This is our moment to be like, oh, we're kind of sneak peeking to see like, here's what kind of happens behind the scenes to help us so that when we're practicing, we're like, how did they know? It's like, because these things start to come into play. These following principles are what's happening when you're teaching a class. Now, you may feel like as you go through this list, you're like, I've got these dialed in. You're like, good. Or you might be like, oh, I really want to focus on some of these in my teaching in this next week or this next month. Don't feel like you need to tackle all of these right off the bat. I know some of you might be like, oh, I got these good, or oh, this, or you may just want to put a little bit more emphasis on some of these in your teaching, just to keep things fun and spicy and changing things up a little bit for yourself. Okay. Let's see. So let's look at here. Let's read this first one. So it's the strive to create engagement and benefit for the student in the posture. And we're doing this through following ways. So if someone would read A for me, please. Oh, you're good.
Honor the unique needs and characteristics of each student's body.
So this is where we think of like maybe our language, inclusive language that we use, that we're not using words like should or just do this. I always in class, I'll sometimes say just step forward. And I'm like, wait, no, like, and I'll correct myself and make a joke, be like, yeah, just, I mean, that, because for every person, that's assuming that it's easy. And we want to be really mindful of our language, that we're not putting some kind of judgment on it that can, you know, internally affect someone to be like, oh, well, this should be easy. This is not easy for me, you know? And using variations, you know, always throwing out different variations for people, modifications. How else do we do this? Is there, yeah, Peggy.
Well,
just reminded, because I think that sometimes you just have to be careful to assume that like everybody feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, pigeon, I wanna cry.
Yeah.
The nose so tight from running them. So it's like relaxing the pigeon and, you know, I don't know, sometimes the wording and everyone's like, ah, and I'm like, ah. I'm not relaxing at all. So, yeah, I mean, that's an example, but I think there's other ones where everybody just assumes.
Yeah.
This is just one of those poses, you know, it's never good for everyone.
Yeah, right. It's different for everyone. I recently had a moment where for years I've been teaching in Ardha Matsyendrasana, seated twist, right? That I'll say, you can bend your knee in, or it may feel like basically saying a little bit easier variation might be to extend your leg. And then I had a conversation with someone after, and they were like, that is not easier for me to extend. They're like, I have tight hamstrings. So when you tell me to straighten my leg, that is so painful that it is so much harder. So I was like, oh, right. I had to like reframe my wording around that to be like, yeah, that's just, here are two variations. You choose which feels right for you. Of like that, we can't assume that it's going to be one way in anybody's body. Mhm. What else? How else do we do this?
Offering, like modifications
Mhm.
or variations, or however you prefer to call them, with very neutral language.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
like, if that feels too hard, you can, don't say that.
Mhm.
And building off of your pigeon, my younger sister has cancer, and when I say that, she was diagnosed at 3 months. She's 22 now. She's perfectly fine. Just saying, when I say this, it's not like I'm bullying somebody, to be clear. But she, because of the cancer, she has crepitus, which is affectionately called crunchy bone syndrome, where the gas in the joints that like you get from popping your knuckles and stuff builds up really fast for her. So she hates child's pose because there are so many joints that are flexed, and it's usually held for a pretty long time. So a lot of the time for her, I'm like, when I say child's pose, you could just lay down in savasana. I'm sorry, my brain is short
That's
circuit.
okay.
I'm like, or like offering alternative poses.
Yeah.
Or reminding people you can go into child's pose if you'd like. Take a restorative child's pose if that is calling to you. Just using like neutral or inclusive language.
Yep.
Even
Definitely.
on poses you think are like chill.
And I would not say that child's pose is a resting pose. I know lots of people who do not enjoy it. And that's why, for all of you beginning to teach, when you all teach child's pose in the beginning of class, don't hang out forever. 3 to 5 breaths and move on. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Don't hang out right, for sure. Unless you're teaching a yin class or something. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of older people that I've taught who don't like
Mhm.
like that's not comfortable for me, so it's like an adjustment for me to realize. I would always be like, oh, just get into a comfortable child's pose, and then I realized it's not comfortable, so instead I say, oh, you can get into a child's pose or a tabletop or any other restful position. Some people feel like this is restful for me, or fetal position, so I might like throw a few out there. So I think it's just being really mindful, like you said, Ashley, like not everyone's
Yeah. And letting people know that their rest, like, you know how we say in the beginning in class to take care of yourself, move at your own pace, stay in child's pose or any other resting pose that calls to you. I always throw that in there because some people might prefer ragdoll or down dog, or they need to sit down or they need to lie down, right? To let people know that, oh, resting can be like, what does resting mean to me? Again, it goes back to that inner authority, that like for them to figure out what works for them. But that starts with our language. Okay. All right. How about our next one here? B or C. Where are we? I don't know where we are. B. Okay.
Student after Success in a way that treats the posture.
Yes. So how do we do that? Cueing, props, right?
Variations.
Yeah. They, adjustments, variations, maybe we demo things, maybe we demo like the whole Sun B. You know, Austin does that a lot when he teaches. If he does something kind of different in his Sun B, he'll stop class and show everyone like, here's how to transition from like this pose to this to this. So it gives the visual learners an opportunity to see, you know, so we get that different ways of learning, different ways to kind of help people to get there. But props, like all that kind of stuff can help along the way with that. Okay. Okay, next one. Let's go. Let's do B then. We didn't do B, right? Did we do B? Okay, B.
Support the student to maintain presence and awareness in the posture.
And this is where we can use breath, our cues, the drishti, right? Where are they putting their gaze? That can be like your main focus, right? This could be one of the things that you're just talking about over and over again is setting that drishti. Assists as well. Even having them change their position and face different directions in the room. Or a mandala flow where they're going all the way around the mat. You know, those are different ways to just help them get a little bit more present out of what's comfortable, because we get into autopilot easily, right? If you're like, you're all Sun B, okay, where are you two, you know, but what happens when you throw just do one more time and you're all the way around the world, and then it's just like, it's like a whole new world, right? You're all, what just happened? Okay. Okay, how about let's go to D. One.
Safety, sustainability, conduct, cultivating an inner authority and modification.
Yeah. You know, asking them, how does it feel when they're in this, you know, like, and what are the consequences of like, if I go deeper, will I feel this tomorrow? Will this be supportive for me? I have a client that I'm working with right now that she's in pain. She's got chronic pain always. So we had a conversation recently about this. She's just like, that hurt. And I said, everything hurts you. So we need to decide, like, is it worth it for it to hurt? Will it hurt worse tomorrow because of what we're doing? Or is it okay to lean into the hurt a little bit, right? To play around with that, you know, but helping our students to figure that out, let them figure it out. Yeah, right.
Sometimes they think like, oh, that hurts, but they mean it's just uncomfortable. So I'll talk about that. Like this pose may not be very comfortable. There might be some discomfort.
Yep.
Notice if there's like pain.
Yeah, pain or discomfort are two different things. Yeah, I say that with new people a lot. I'll be like, if it's painful, stop. If it's uncomfortable, can you take one more breath? Yeah, right. Yeah. You're right. Yep, absolutely. And then last one here, E.
There's always a counter to ideology in someone's body.
So this is where it's like, again, there's no one right way, right? Figure out what the rules are for you in your body and what works for you, right? Like our fish examples here with these two of being like, yeah, I can't find happy medium with it, you know, and that's fair and valid, right? And
Permission to fully in their own authority.
yes.
That is the best gift you can give anyone.
Yes. And that's where we got to be really careful too, that we don't cheer on too much not the ideal looking pose, but like,
The perception.
yeah, the perception of like the full expression. We have to be careful in class that we don't praise that always, you know, that we're like, you can cheer people on and do a good job, but we also, because that right there will have, it's like, it's still a perceived bias if we get too like,
Behind the time.
Yep.
I just like, I literally called her.
Like, I can't do this.
It just like to me, it's about a joke.
Mhm.
And then some people probably loved it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, some people love it. Like, I know a teacher that she literally sounds like a drill sergeant when she teaches. She teaches hot yoga, and she is the most lovely human being in the world. So sweet and soft spoken. But when she gets into that classroom, she's all, and lift your arms up overhead and exhale, release forward fold. And you're like, who the hell is this person and where did you come from? And people love it. People love it. Like, it's either they love it or they're like, I'm never going back to that again. She's very polarizing and it is hilarious. But that is her way. And it's like, there's no change in her way. And that's just how she rolls, right? Different strokes for different folks, right? We all, there's someone for, there's a teacher out there for everybody. Yeah, Reba.
Kind of adding to that, just the idea of like not taking your own biases into your classes, like not assuming that because you like certain poses or don't like certain poses that you shouldn't teach them.
Yep.
Or
Absolutely.
separate.
Yes, for sure. Okay. Okay, number 2. So how about this one? The breath is the foundation of the pose. We build the pose around the breath. So we start with the breath first. That we then the pose starts to shape around that. That we're not trying to cram people into these shapes. That it's like, let them ease in and find their way into it. So that's where it is so important for us to really establish that breath, set that tone, set that rhythm, reminding them however you want to, and you breathe along with the class. That's going to be really helpful to help kind of set that tone. Because if you're breathing and you've got like that steady cadence, it's going to reflect into your students. If you're kind of nervous and just holding your breath and kind of all over the place, they're going to pick up on that. So you got to kind of fake it till you make it a little bit when you first start. And it's normal. It's okay. We've all been there, right? Let's see. How about number 3?
Connection to the core at all times.
So this is where we protect our spine, right? And then just your sense of self, right? Having that connection to our core, like our essence of like who we are. Like, can we maintain that connection? This is why we always, we joke in class when we like get to the core section of the Cambio sequence. It's like, okay, here's core, but everything you've done up to this point is also core, right? A warrior 2 is core, right? There's major core going on, Utkatasana, right? All of that, we've got our core is functioning to work for in this one. Yeah. Okay. Number 4.
Allow spontaneity in the posture to sensitize the experience.
Yeah. And this is where like identifying habits and attachments that you might notice in your students or even yourself of like, can you change things up? Like having half series variations, doing little things a little bit different that they're maybe not quite used to doing. And that's something I love to try to weave into my class because it's simple, but it just gives you an opportunity to maybe feel the pose a little bit differently. It can help where, it helps just with like the mind tricks for people who have like a regular practice. To just feel things a little bit differently, to not be like, oh, I know it all, right? That we're like, we can constantly be surprised in these poses. And I think that that's such a gift to have that opportunity. Let's see. How about number 5 here?
Know what is stretching and strengthening in pose.
Yeah. So finding that balance between the two. So learning about poses, like, okay, we're lengthening in this pose, but we're strengthening in this way. Like, how do we find that in the poses? We need to understand that as teachers so that we one can prep people, get them warmed and ready, but we don't also overuse things as well, right? To have that nice balance between the two. Let's see. And then number 6. And I would say not just physical, but mental and physical edge, right? And then their next little, the last one here, the maintain ahimsa, right? That is so critical. If we can help that. And what's ahimsa? That nonviolence, right? Can we have some nonviolence? So, so we're not like Leslie's teacher, where it feels like Mussolini's like, let's pose, get in the shape, right? That we want to get out of that mindset that there are days where like, I'm not going to do that pose. I'm not going to do a chaturanga today, and that's okay, right? I'm not going to force myself into it. I'm going to take care of myself in whatever way I need to. Okay. Okay. All right, friends, those are them, right? Did I finish them all? Yes. Yes. So we just have our, one last little section, and then we'll have a little break here. The next one are our alignment trinities. So these little tools here, I think are just helpful in keeping us inspired as teachers to be like, okay, when I'm teaching class, maybe I'm going to have a little bit more emphasis on balance or strength or flexibility. But all three of these components are happening in your class at some point along the way. And the scales may be like maybe leaning towards one more than others, but we're still hitting all these in class. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Let me see here. Any questions about these? I feel like that's pretty straightforward, but does that make sense with them? The balance, strength, and flexibility. Okay. And then for yourself to kind of ponder is, so which principles of these do you need to really think about in your own teaching to like help you grow from where you are right now as a teacher in your teaching journey, that you would like, okay, I want to focus on these right now. And so those of you in 200, like this would be like, maybe this next week in posture clinics and while you're practicing, like think about these for yourself of like, which thing do I really want to pay attention to? And maybe it's like, I want to just explore what this spontaneous movement feel like in my body this week when you're practicing, of like, the teacher may say, come to a low lunge. You're like, no, I really want to throw a skandasana in there, and you just do it because you're like, that's what's called to me, whatever that might be. So pick one of these maybe in your practice. Well, all of you, when you're practicing too, to like think about which one of these might help you. And then those of you that are, maybe if you're teaching this week, throw this into the mix for yourself and just see like, I want to hone in on this one this week and see what happens to put this into class. Okay. All right. Feel okay? Doing all right? Okay. Now I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to jump into poses. This is where we will need our yoga mats. So have your mats ready to move. So if you need to do a quick bladder break. Wow, that's hard. Bladder break. Say that 3 times fast. Let's take a moment. Let's take 5 let's take 5. Is that okay? 5, all right? Okay, great. 5 is fine. 5 is fine. 5 fine. All right. Yay. Here we go. All right. So now we're going to take a look at our foundational poses, and you can think of these kind of like, remember old school overhead projectors with like the transparency papers, and you got those pages like one on top of the other. So we're going to look at these poses, these 5 poses. So 5 is the magical number today, 5. We're going to take a look at these 5 and to see like, how can these kind of overlap and overlay different poses that you are going to teach and experience throughout your class and your teachings when you do teach. Okay. And also keep bandhas, right? You all was today bandhas or yesterday? Yes. Yesterday. So kind of keep bandhas in mind. And I want us to think about these things, these questions, right, that we went over. Keep these in mind as we're kind of going through and experiencing these as well. Okay. So our first one is going to be Tadasana. Let's all say that. Tadasana, right? Tadasana. So I'll just read you here that it's a quintessential pose. Elemental alignment principles are the foundation for other poses in one fashion or another. And I've heard it say before that like, that all poses derive from this pose. I don't know where I heard that from years ago, if that's true, but I like it. I like it. It's like, yeah, everything is kind of like some kind of variation of Tadasana, of mountain pose. So let's just stand in mountain pose. So you can do a feet hip width or feet together. You choose what feels most comfortable and stable in your body. Okay. So just stand here and close your eyes. Take a couple breaths. I'm not going to dial too much in alignment just yet, but just starting to think about, okay, how does this feel in your body standing in a mountain pose in Tadasana? Start to explore for yourself to feel it. Start from the ground up and feel cues. How would you put this into language? What do you feel in your feet? What do you notice that you have to kind of self-correct when you're in it? And work from the feet up, work through the legs, and play around with it if you need to kind of like wiggle and bend. And unless you're like, oh, I can get there perfectly, maybe you got to like move around a little bit in order to get into it. Okay, now open the eyes. Take one more big breath. Let it go. What do you feel? What do you notice in this one? What kind of comes up?
You have to kind of push your hips forward because you kind of get an anterior pelvic tilt. So you have to engage the lower pelvic floor and lift your chest up.
That you do. Because not everybody does. Not everybody has that kind of lordotic curve, right? So some do, but not all do. Yep. What else? What do you? Corners of the feet, really rooting down.
This way, this way. So if you're cueing, I feel like that's a good one to do.
Yep, having the feet. What about the feet in general? Because look around the room, it's different for everybody. Some are hip width, some aren't. Why do we give that option?
So that we can find a position where they can be more stable and grounded.
Why do we give especially hip width that variation besides?
Touch their feet.
Just think about when yoga was first coming around, these asanas, who was doing it?
Men.
12-year-old boys. Yep, boys. And do they have hips? I mean, they have hips, but they're pretty straight, right? So like feet together is easy breezy for them, but who's doing yoga here? Everybody, right? Not just 12-year-old boys. I would say none of you are 12 years old.
Less 12-year-old boys now.
Yeah. Yeah. So that we want to have that inclusive language with it. Okay. What do you think? What are some common misalignments in this pose? Arching. Too much. Too much curve. That lordotic curve. We're too much. Yep. That locking the knees out. Yep. Shoulders up here.
At least for me, I have a tendency to want to like
The head
bring my
forward.
neck
Yep.
down or sometimes up.
Yeah.
It's like finding a neutral neck, not like the standing up straight. I always want to like pull my head back.
Yep.
And look up. So I'm like standing up straight.
Yep. So finding that right neck placement.
No energy in the hands. So
Yeah, just no energy in general. Just kind of like limp lettuce. Okay.
you don't want to hate the limp.
I do hate the limp lettuce.
Significant.
I don't, yeah, it drives me nuts too. This like warrior two and the fingers are like, well, wake them up, stick them in some water, wake them up. Yeah. Yeah. Just real like, real grippy.
I feel like for myself, I get
Snap, crackle.
too like tense, like you were saying, real grippy. And so like I often feel like I have to kind of like sway forward and back a little bit just to like loosen it up, unlock my knees, unlock everything.
Yeah. So do that, kind of move around, bend the knees, march in place a little bit, like do a little bit of movement, just kind of show me your dance moves. Hey, what were your dance moves you did with Austin?
Okay.
They're all doing it.
You do a little dolphin flip, mermaid flip. Safari guy.
I was hoping there was be some voguing.
Oh, yeah. This, pull out. Oh, yeah.
Crazy. Okay, now come to Tadasana. Now that you just did that, now feel Tadasana after that. He said, he's like, ask them to see if they remember it. There we go. Yeah. You're like, Bondas, no, but I got the dance moves down. Hey, you know. And how can we feel it a little differently here now? A little more energized. Okay. All right, let's grab a block, place it high between your inner thighs. Now, we're going to go through a sunny with the block. And I want you to, so yeah, you may need to move your accoutrements so you don't land on them. So if you've got something behind you, just scoot it to the side. I want you to, through this whole sunny, to try to maintain Tadasana as best that you can. Okay, like obviously that it's going to vary a little bit, but like think about principles of Tadasana: the grounding through the feet, through the legs, through the pelvis, the core, the shoulders, the neck, all of that, the hand engagement. Okay, so I'll guide you through. Take a big exhale, let it go, squeeze that block. Okay, inhale, arms up overhead, extended mountain, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, high plank to Chaturanga. So scoot back as much as and give a little hops to get back there. Good. Then Chaturanga as you're ready. Lower. Squeeze that block. Inhale, Cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale. Stay here. Exhale. Find that mountain. Now inhale, look forward. Exhale out. As many hops as you need to. Get to the top. Good. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise, extended. Come up. Urdhva, reach. Exhale, arms by your side, mountain, let it go. Good. Take the block out. Now go through that one more on your own. Go through a sunny on your own. Move at your pace. One breath per movement. Thinking about, yeah, now you're getting warm. Good. Can you maintain Tadasana? What changes? What's different? Eventually, yep, making your way back to your mountain pose once you go full cycle through. All right. How'd that feel? How'd that feel using the block and then your breath, all that? Did Tadasana feel a little different? Yeah, Nathaniel.
Look, use my legs more,
Mhm.
my extension, my core is more here.
Yes, absolutely. Yay. Good, right answer. Yes, Alexis.
It was harder to visualize like the engagement in my legs when I was doing it without the block. I had to keep reminding myself, engage my legs, engage my core, whereas with the block, it had to happen.
Right. Yes. Yeah, and see how like that, like even y'all, seasoned practitioners, you're like, oh yeah, it makes this. So think about our new students when we introduce things like this to them. It's like, oh yeah, this is how we can feel a pose you've done 1,000 times. Can you feel it a little bit differently by weaving a prop into it? Something as simple as that. Because what happens if you can have more awareness in Tadasana? What does that mean for the rest of your practice? Mhm. Yeah. So then if you were to do, what pose does this look like? What does this kind of mimic prepare us for? Yes. Utkatasana. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. All of them, yes. What about put your arms up like this and flip your palms? Handstand, flip. Yeah. If you can have your legs and your core engaged in mountain, and then you go to a handstand, you're going to be able to hold your handstand a heck of a lot better if you can keep that awareness going on in the legs, in the core, in the hips. Yeah. So this is like, we're like in jazz, we're learning the notes, right? This is like the learning the notes, getting this down so good so that later you can get all creative and do all the other things, all those little flourishes, but we got to figure out, wait, how do I find that first before I start changing things up? Yeah. Okay, cool. Any questions about that with Tadasana? Do we like Tadasana? We're like, this is the pose that everyone's like, yeah, I do, right? I like stand, right? Okay, next pose, Adho Mukha Svanasana. There we go. What pose is this? Now we're facing doggy. Okay, is this an easy pose? No, right? When I first started doing yoga, I was like, what is this pose? Why is this torture device here for me? To the point of like, I asked my teacher in the middle of a conference, and I was very shy, very introverted. This is not me, but I was so determined to figure out this pose that when he was like, who's got questions with this? I raised my hand in front of like 150 people and was like, I do, because I was like, I hated it so much that I was like, I'm gonna get over my stage fright and I'm gonna get some answers. I got some answers. I mean, I was sweating like, that like cold sweat of like, okay. But I was like, I have to feel something different in this pose because there's too many down dogs in a vinyasa class to not get it figured out. Okay, so we're working the leg, right? What are we working in this pose? Everything. Legs, the shoulders, the core, the pelvis, the hips, right? You name it, it's happening. Okay, so let's come into downward facing dog. Let's go to a plank first. Yeah, find a plank first, because what is the common thing you'll often see people do? Too short, right? Their down dogs are way too short. Yeah. Okay, now lift your hips up, come into your down dog. Nice. Great. Big breaths in and out. Pedal the feet if you'd like a little bit. Feel good? Does it feel all right? Are we okay in down dog, or are we miserable? Can we think of equal effort throughout this pose? Meaning equal effort, pushing the front of the mat away, finding that length through the torso, through the muscles along the spines. Your knees can bend for this, friends. And then that energy running down the backs of the legs. We want to think of maintaining that double S curve in the spine. So we're still keeping that. So that might mean your gaze is a little forward. It doesn't have to be back. Like play with the neck position. What feels better for you? And being sure to not over tuck it, right? Sometimes we get a little too over tucked. Good. Now come on down to the knees. Pause. Shake out the wrists a little bit. Yes, Peggy. I love it, Peggy's all. And
They say gaze at your thighs. So if I'm gazing at my thighs, I don't have a double S. So then when you just said that, I was like, I've never even heard that cue with a double S.
yeah,
So which is it?
I mean, I personally like to maintain the double S.
So show me your down dog real quick, if you don't mind.
No.
I want to do it.
I mean, my down dog isn't Perfect. I don't know about that. I mean. Well, I'm like, so, I don't look, I don't do that.
Mistakes most people make.
Well, this is this one, because they're like, I want my heels on the floor.
Yeah.
They're like, right? They do this weird, so short, right? They're way too short. So that's one. There'll be this. Oh God, that hurts. That like that rolling into the shoulders.
So cue that to get them out of that.
Yeah. So I always like to cue a broaden through the upper back, feeling external rotation in the arms. Now, some people might already be that way, so they might need a little more inward rotation. You got to kind of play around with that with their bodies. I like to cue because there's a lot of people who hyperextend, especially in the elbows, like me. So see this? That's hyperextension of the elbows. We want to bend and shift back more. You see the difference? Yeah, so putting a little bit of bend in the elbows and then extend from there versus totally hyperextended, locked out.
I've found the cue add a micro bend to your elbows has been extremely helpful for me. Because if I say add a bend, all of a sudden you see people go from here to here.
I never see them do that. They're so scared to bend their elbows.
No, and I'm just like, did that hurt?
That's like a nice push-up, a good down dog push-up. They're just
Well,
making it
in
harder.
the military community.
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly like a dive bomber. Like,
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep.
No,
Yeah. So like I would definitely, I'm just looking at Eden's hyperextension there.
I was doing that.
Yes.
I've had to like retrain it
Yeah.
for so long now. It used to be like, I can't even do it anymore.
Right? Yeah, see?
The biceps should not be shining.
Yeah.
And my
I was
arm,
like,
I like struggle. with
Yeah,
trying
so
to-
that's where putting a little bend in the elbows, right? To play with that. Yes.
it's personal.
That's okay.
For myself.
That's okay.
So because I have the hyperextension here, I also have it like here.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
You can
yeah,
have it everywhere.
Yeah. And yeah, anyways, so when I go back here, I can also push to here. And
Yep.
that feels fine.
Will you turn to the side and do that so they can see you at home?
Sure. Here. Okay. So I have, hello, Claire, sorry.
Go a little longer. Walk your hands forward more. There you go. But now walk your feet back.
So yeah, I can like
See her, it's shoulders. She's super hypermobile in her shoulders.
You don't want to see it?
You don't
Yeah,
want to see that.
it's
So,
too much.
do you mind going into it? So here's how I would help someone who's doing this, because this is why I do not do this assist. I do not push down. I will pull up and away. That's one, go back in. Or like someone like Eden, who I know, I'll come around and go, draw your ribs in. See how that changes? It makes her drop in a little bit more. And then this can open, but we're not jamming her back this way because of that hypermobility.
Because the goal is like, don't jump into your joints, but use the muscles.
Right.
You actually strengthen.
Here's the thing though, people that are hypermobile, for them to make that switch, like Eden knows that and she does it. She corrects. But many people that are like this are like, but it's easy.
Right. Well, there's not like it doesn't feel like the muscle, like I don't feel it in my arms.
They're not engaged.
Unless I'm pushing to that full hyperextension that I can get, but then I'm compromising my low back and like my hamstrings and everything else. But in my arms, where we're saying like the cues for the most part, I feel like I just want to give that example because I've had some hypermobile people in my class and it's hard.
Yep. Because you
Always-
want strength. So I will sometimes speak to this. You were aiming for strength and everyone is different with that. So some of us are the people who are blessed with like stability that are working on flexibility. They've got it. it's easier for them to find their edge. People who are cursed with hypermobility have a harder time. And I say that in class because people will often glorify hypermobility and think like, this is what it's supposed to look like. And it's like, this is where injury happens.
Big time.
And I will say that because I have a student who I've been working constantly, like a long time with her on it. She got pregnant again. And then I haven't seen her in class because she's like, because my body hurts because I should have listened to you and you told me to actually engage. She's like, I was so lazy, I didn't want to. And now she's in PT and she can't do asana because she's so hypermobile. And then you get even more of that elastin through the body when you're pregnant. That it's like, it's so I will say it's like a curse because it is a lot harder for someone like Eden to have to find that. Does anyone else have that?
I feel like I have to work, like when I first learned in 200 hour that I was locking my elbows out and they were like, rotate them in. I was like, oh, new world. It was crazy.
It hurts.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yep.
So what's the, like, you have two main cues to give to like somebody, like a good standing dog to try to get them to hear what you're saying. What would you say?
Well, I would give your elbows a bend. I mean, and it would depend on what I'm seeing. If they're collapsing in the shoulders, it would be to find a little bitty cat back, curl in a little bit, to feel engagement. That we're not like people that are hypermobile don't need to feel the stretch. They need engagement. So for them to find what does engagement look like?
I would also say for if you notice like how I can get my head like way back there, if that saying like bring your ears in line with your biceps is a good one.
Yep.
Just to like bring it back to like, okay, right here, I know you're not gonna hurt yourself. Whereas like right here, you might.
Yeah, she's like, she can put her forehead on the ground, right? And
I mean,
pretty
okay.
close, but let's not do that. Let's not do that. But Eden's not the only one. You'll have a lot of students that will do that.
I've had two of the opposite people. I had a guy in class the other day who was down on us like this. And then I was like, can you spread it out a little bit? And he was like,
Yep.
I was like, hey, 6.
So with that, I'll say you may want like try bringing your pinkies to the edges of your mat.
He had his feet like this, and I told him to spread them out. And again, he was like, so close.
Yeah, you're like, no.
So
At least
close.
you try.
Yeah, and
I
then the
know.
girl next to him was like way back here, and I'm just like,
And you just pick your battles, right? You know, maybe you have a conversation with people or they start coming to your class more, you can be more comfortable to work like one-on-one with them a little bit. Okay, let's think about how do we feel about down dog? Are we okay with down dog? Or are we
love it.
love it?
My favorite.
I love it now, yeah.
Somebody do like tapping on them, then do a cow pose, and then somebody do a control, like between you two, and be comfortable too.
Wait.
How do you feel about that?
I don't, show me what you mean here.
Somebody going like, I don't even know, arching the back a little bit, and like a cow pose, and then pose, and then maybe like a little bit neutral. Or is that
I don't know, how does that feel in your body?
It's hard to do the cow pose. I can do the cat back, but I can't do the cow.
I mean, I feel like I have to shift forward to come into that. But you can go forward and back, like you can roll through down dog, like roll to an up dog. And so you're kind of rolling through a cow and cat with it. Yeah.
I do have a question.
Yes.
I've always been very stretched, which makes it a problem of strength.
Uh-huh.
And in down dog, I can have a wide stance and my heels are on the ground.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, meh. So in this school, in this train of thought, should I release my heels even though I can put my heels all the way down? Does it?
Well, I'm not gonna should you.
But I want to like be in the plan.
Do you wanna, well, let's see, what, you wanna come into it? Do you wanna, let's take a look.
How are you so comfortable?
Come,
With the answer?
can you come over closer to the computer so they can see you then too? So then they can hear me.
Okay, here.
Yeah, you don't mind? shift to a high plank real fast. So walk your feet back a little bit more. So you're actually in plank. There we go. So feel your chest reach forward a little. There we go. Good. Nice. Now come to down dog from there. I mean, I think that looks great.
How do you feel if you bend your knees a little bit? Do you feel a stretch in your hamstrings?
I feel nothing.
Wow.
I mean, so Kristen Mack is the same way in this one. Like
So, but
her,
what, Austin always says is like, there's a way, if you feel nothing, you're not getting anything from the pose, so he tries to say things, I've heard him say things before, like, to get somebody to feel something, so what would you say, are your quads engaged, is your core engaged?
Everything is engaged.
yeah.
I mean, I don't, it
So maybe.
has nothing to do with my legs being down. If I release my heels, I feel less.
Right,
feel-
So come into it real fast.
yeah, that's.
Couple things.
that's kind of-
One, well, let's just go, ease into this before I just shout all the things. Okay, spread your toes and pull your toes up.
Ah,
How's that feel? Feel a little something?
yeah, I feel like it's pushing my knees back, like hyperextending my knees.
And so engage your quadriceps. Feel your quadriceps pull up. Are they lifting?
That's better.
Now dig your fingertips into the mat. So really claw, like kitty claws. I call them kitty claws. Think a little bit of cat back, just a smidge. Yeah. Breathe. How's that? In your head, you pick like some like it more forward, some you pick what feels good. It doesn't always have to be like major work happening, but I also want you to think about now energetics of what are happening in the pose. So what do we got going on energetically in this pose? You're all, this is what I'm trying to figure out.
I know, this is why I'm
Yeah, right. So I think of it like lines of energy.
here. Okay.
So we're thinking energy's going up from the hands, up through the arms, through the muscles along the spine, and then drawing down the backs of the legs. And then we're kind of pulling it together and away with the hands and feet. So you're pushing away, but sometimes you can kind of pull in a little bit too. So you can kind of pulse with that a little bit. So there's like a big circle of energy going on there.
I do feel that. I do imagine that. So
Yeah.
that's what you said.
Yeah, so you got it.
Okay. So the question is, if it works for my body,
Yeah,
then it's my body.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
If it feels good.
If
I
it
don't feel
feels-
good.
yeah. And if it doesn't, it's not hurting you. Like I don't see anything unsafe happening.
Yeah.
The only minute I was thinking about it, it's like sometimes Austin will, if we're in Malasana, it's like, Malasana is down here, it's like, that's easy. And then he's like, no, come on. Right, if you're in Skandasana, no, come on. And like, then you're actually
Yeah.
using, but it seems to me that there was not really anything you can do in a down dog to make it a little bit.
There was, it was lifting the toes.
Okay,
That was like, whoa, okay. And then to kitty cat the fingers. So I was really
That
feeling
helped.
that energetic thing from.
Yep. And you
Both
could even
hands.
do like bending the elbows, like do like a little push up there.
Okay.
That will just kind of start to create a little bit more of awareness with it.
So if someone is in class and let's say they have the same kind of thing
Yeah.
going on and they're in the down dog with their heels lifted and slight bend in the knees and they're like, well, what's going on? So should there be a cue that says if you can, or just let them figure it out?
If people can put their heels down, they will. I don't
Okay.
ever cue that cue because
Right.
what will happen is it will make everybody else think they need to have their
Right.
heels on the floor.
Okay.
I say move your heels towards the floor. So
Mhm.
that way there's no like touching. Who cares if it touches the floor? It doesn't matter. Exactly. But it's that mental trick, right? It's like we're doing a lot of Jedi mind tricks with our students to get them to just, you're giving them agents. Yes, right? For sure. Because it is that like this last week I taught on Purna. Does anybody know what that word means? Or if you took my class last week, do you remember? Purna? Purna means whole or complete. And it's the philosophy behind that is that we already come to yoga enough as we are, that we're not needing to change and tweak and do all these different things, that like as we are, we're showing up in our enoughness. Yeah. So, and when we start to be like, oh, I can't get my heels down, right? It's like, oh, it's okay. It doesn't matter. There's no special prize. There's no special prize if you can. Okay, now I want us to think about come to down dog. I want us to think a little bit about some things that we can do in down dog to kind of prepare or like foreshadow for our students later on in class, some different things. So let's lift your right leg up, bend your right knee, roll it open, and then drop your left elbow down to the mat. So this is where we're thinking like some side bendings happening here. We're thinking some hip opening is happening. We're opening the lats and the obliques a little bit, but the front of that right hip gets lifted. Okay, let's press back up and do the other side. So left leg lifts, that right elbow can come down. Yeah, right. So again, lats, obliques, that left hip opening, the side body opens. Good. And then come back up and then downward facing dog. How'd that feel?
I couldn't do.
Yeah. See how that like just tweaking thing, just a little bit, changing it can foreshadow what's to come, but help prep for what's to come also. Okay, let's try another one. So say twist. Let's do a down dog twist. Come into your down dog. You may want to shorten it up a little bit. So shorten your down dog. Walk it in or walk it back, your choice. And then left hand reaches to the outside of the right leg. So you're twisting to the right and you can take hold wherever you want to on that leg. Good. Pull to help that twist open a little bit more. Working some spine or mobility, a little bit of outer hip happening. Good. And then change other side. Good. Breathe. Feel that twist. Nice. Good. Then come back to center. Find your down dog, reset it. And now say you want to work hamstrings a little bit more. And so say that means you're normally, people will bend their knees, but now lift the heels up. So come more on tiptoes. We'll take the calves out of it a little bit. Don't shift forward though. Still keep your hips up and back. Good. So now looking more at hamstring, a little bit more sensation here. Good. Okay, now lower the heels down. Now working, rotating hips and IT band a little bit. Bend one knee. And then feel the top of that other thigh bone drop back. Good, hold it. So oftentimes when we pedal, we just kind of pedal, 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 and instead hold. And now change the other side. Breathe. Do you feel how it's different when you hold it versus just that pedal? Yeah, now do a little pedal, 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 pedal. Okay, release, come down for a second. We got one more, but I was trying to give you a little break. Shake out the wrists. I told you you'd get warm. You'd be moving. Okay, one more. This is one I taught this 2 weeks ago, this one. So come to down dog. And then lift right leg up. So think about now hands nice and strong, inversion. This is happening here. Then take your left arm alongside the left side of your body. Yep. So this is where maybe you're prepping for arm balancing a little bit. Yeah. And just balance in general. Yes. Let it be wobbly. Good. Nice. And then release it. Try the other side. No, you're good. Sense of humor is helpful. Opposite. Yeah, think like bird dog in tabletop. You're doing same. There you go. Yeah, wait a second. Great. Nice, Disa. Yeah. Okay, good. Nice. So see how just those little tweaks can be exploring in different ways, right? How can we kind of approach the pose a little bit differently? How do we utilize it for other things in the practice? Okay, questions about down dog? Feel okay? Yes, okay, awesome. All right, let's move on. Uttanasana. Have your strap handy here for this. And block, have it near you. Uttanasana, standing forward fold. So now we're really opening the posterior chain in the body. This is that back point. So forward fold, Uttanasana. Do we not know what Uttanasana is? Okay. I'm just
We're so hard.
we're like, no, we don't want to move. Okay. Good. Breathe here. So we're grounding through the feet. So feeling that groundedness down through the feet. Allowing the weight of the head to lengthen down those muscles along the spine. Good. Now you can take that block, place it high between your inner thighs. Squeeze that block. So you're trying to shoot it back behind you. That internal rotation, relax your head and let your knees bend to the degree that works for you. Good. Now take your strap, slide it underneath your feet. Ball or kind of mid-foot. And Sierra, I'd walk your feet in closer. Your hips are not that wide. Sierra, keep going. There we go. There. Okay, good. Now take hold of the strap. Take up as much slack as you need to. You want to keep your arms straight. Take a breath in, then exhale, fold and pull. Now bend the elbows a little bit as you lean. Squeeze that block, lean into it. So feeling that energetic, that posterior chain getting stretched and lengthened, engaging the front line of your body, right? So feeling that interior side, nice and strong, quads engage, navel draws in and up. Good, breathe. Your hip joints are nice and stable there. Yes, good. And then release, let that go. Take the block out. Let's come to a malasana. That might feel nice after that. Maybe, or stand up, whatever you need to release it. If you're you're like, why you make me work so hard? So what's our common misalignment that we'll often see? Yeah, knees locked out. That can happen. The feet just not in alignment, right? They could be like a lot of times turned out. Feet just will do, people do weird things with their feet, why do they do that? Do you know? Yes, and from where? Yep, often hips or knees. That it's usually hips, but yeah, you'll see that. So if they're tight in their hips, you're going to see it cascade down throughout the rest of the body. What else do we see? So if their legs are locked out, what does that probably mean then for their torso? That can happen. Where are they bending from? Their waist instead of their hips. Yeah, they bend from here instead of here at the hip joint. Yep. So we really want to encourage them to find that. Okay. Okay. Stand on up, friends. So soon. Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. You only have 2 poses left and the last one, Shavasana. Okay. Does that feel better? Does that feel better to know that? Can we? That can be. Yeah, take a minute if you need a minute. Yeah, finding our warrior 2 here. So now we're looking at hip opening. We're looking at lunging going on, right? There's some external rotation in that front hip, right? That back hip, not fully external, not totally neutral. It's kind of like an in-between. So we're really grounding down through the feet. Good, steady, deep breaths. So what happens with that front knee often? What do we often see? Yeah, tracking in. Yeah, and that often means that outer hip is weak. So it's just kind of collapsing in. So we want to really think of that we pull that pull the outer knee to the hip. And inner thigh to the knee. So we're like kind of working that back and under of that bent leg. Yeah, to help it be in that stable position.
What's the cue for this? I feel like I've heard it.
I say tuck your left glute under. Yep. Now let's change other side. So you can step or just face that, it doesn't matter. Even grab your strap too. Grab your strap. Take it back behind you. Yep, do what Lexi's doing there, right back behind you and pull on the strap. So we're going way back to remember that fish pose we did way back when, a couple hours ago. Yeah, and give it a pull. Let's think about the upper body too. So tailbone draws down a bit. So we lengthen through the torso. Feel the arms pull, hands strong. Good. Breathe. Really pull, pull, pull those arms away from each other. Yeah. Feel your feet squeeze in, legs stay nice and strong. Where do we see this pose in other poses? What does this prep us for? Half moon. Uh-huh. Triangle. Yep. Uh-huh. What else? Reverse warrior. Yep. Crescent-ish in the sense that you're in a lunge, but I would say more even like half pigeon, a lizard lunge, right? There's some external hip rotation for that front leg, right? We got an open hip pose here. Yeah. Okay. Come on out. Shake it out. Let it go. How do we feel about warrior two? Feel all right? Yeah. Yeah. And then, I always just want to make the case for don't skip triangle in your class when you teach. It's just so good for people's bodies. Because we're working a straight leg, right? We're working the hip, we're working obliques, working the core, all those things that are just so needed to be strong in people's bodies. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
About warrior too.
Mhm.
So this is what you're doing when you're looking at anything. So you're here. Do you try to have your shoulders stacked over your hips? So it's like a little box there, because no. Yes, no.
Yeah, shoulders stack over hips. Yeah.
Okay, so if you see in class, and a lot of people like kind of sink into the front, I mean, observing as a student,
They lean forward.
they're like, lean on there, they're not equally based in
Correct.
between.
Uh-huh.
So they're kind of tilting there. So do you make a general, cue to try to stack your shoulders over your
Yep.
hips?
So a couple ways I
Equal.
do that. Talk about the feet. You want to be rooting equally into the feet. Especially that's important because what's the pose where they're really off?
The next one.
The next one,
Yeah.
extended side angle. They really shift everything forward. So turn and face, we face just so that they can see you. Yeah, perfect. Now step out. Do your warrior two
For the Zoom.
for Zoom.
Oh, for Zoom.
Mhm.
Sorry, thank you.
And now do your lean forward. This is what common thing. So a couple things that you can do is say, bring your hands to your hips and now find Tadasana torso, lean back a little bit, stand up. Yeah. So you can do that and then lift your arms back up. Okay. Now come back into it again, leaning forward. You can say with your back hand, your left hand, pull back a little bit to pull back towards the back of the room. Imagine that's the back of the room. So the side. So pull towards Sophia. Pull your.
Oh, maybe.
Yes.
Oh, I'm like, my arm.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And that can sometimes cue, or you can say, draw your left shoulder back a little bit. And that can sometimes help because that will often also be turned forward too.
Okay. Okay, good. Because you can only go so far.
Yeah.
Are you pushing really far into your front foot? Because you could probably say like push into the knife edge of your back foot. And then with that like.
Or how about the cue to like energetically pull your inner thighs together?
You can do that. Squeeze
But
your
there-
feet together.
but there-
Imagine you're on ice and try not to
Yeah.
fall.
I have.
Laura,
done
can
that
I
and
can
just
I
do
offer
it.
something?
Yes, please.
The way that we were taught it in my 200 hour, and I use this, and I don't know if this is going to be helpful for anyone else, but we actually took the strap, bunch it up along your mat long ways, and you're going to put your front foot on it long ways. Back foot is going to be more like your heel connecting, but either way, and then you're going to like kind of press down and forward with the front foot, down and back with the back heel to the strap kind of straightens out and isn't so kind of left.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, I had to look.
You
to
get
see
what I
you-
mean? I don't know if you can see my strap, but
Yeah.
feet are kind of extending the strap out when you have them.
Ah, okay. Do you guys see that? Okay. Let me,
Let me get a better
did
angle.
you get that, Ryan?
Stretching strap apart.
Yeah, so
The strap's like all kind of raveled up. And then your front foot it's long with your front foot. Your back foot kind of has mostly your heel, but whatever way is comfy. And then as you press down and forward and down and back, the strap will lengthen out and things will kind of just fall into place.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean your shoulders will be over.
Right, but this is just a different way, different thing for feet, just a different tool depending on what you see going on in your class. Absolutely. Yep. You can even use the strap where you hook it around your back heel and then pull on it as well. So you have like a little loop and you pull, like, yeah, totally different little tools. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
The magic that I've learned as a personal trainer is one cue won't work for everyone, so have a couple in your pocket.
Yes, for sure.
'Cause,
More
like,
than
when
a-
you said reach to the back of the room,
Yeah.
she went to her back.
Yeah, I'm like,
And
very.
so it's
You were very lit. Yeah.
it's-
If we were in a normal class and I said to the back of the room, you would know.
Probably would have done that, but I'm like being very like,
Mhm.
But I've had that happen so many times, that same cue, like reach the arm back to the back of the room, and so many people just don't do anything, or same thing, to reach it behind. And so I like that first one, hands to the hips, stand up tall,
right.
because then it's
That
like,
one takes more time though. So it's one of those, like, I do that in beginners.
Mhm.
I don't always do that. It depends, because you got to pick your battles, friends, or you will be in Sun B for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, you can only do so many, and you can give the most perfect cues that have ever been given. They're not listening to you. They don't hear everything you say in class. They don't. I mean, I've told you all this story, but I get people, they will be like, oh my God, that cue when you said to do this with your knee. And I'm like, I say that every time. And they're like, but that was the day they heard it, right? That was the one day they finally heard it and it clicked, right? So
Well, in that instance that you're saying, would it be advantageous to actually do it? You know, come to them
it
and.
all depends on what's going on in the room. They may,
touch.
Oh, of course, I wouldn't touch them.
Yeah, it's just.
no, but I think she's saying in your body, like you demo, right? You self-adjust
Oh,
in
in
yourself.
my body demo. Oh, yes, of course. Like that.
Yeah, but here's the deal. Yeah, and sometimes they're locked in and they're not gonna move and you just bless their little hearts and you move along. Like, don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. Yeah.
So I have a question about demoing. I was talking to somebody about their teaching and they teach a different place. And I said, well, we don't really demo that much. And they were like, yeah, but a lot of people want to see the demo. And I said, well, I guess I demo some things, but like I'm not gonna be in a down dog, there's no safety for anyone in the class. But I just was curious how the studio feels about demoing as opposed to like demoing and queuing. Like sometimes if you could say 10 cues, but if you showed them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it'll click.
Yeah, I mean, I think you answered your question.
Yeah. Like just so sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you demo. That's where it's also important that where you are placing yourself in the room is so important. So when we're doing Sun B and it's right leg, so say we're in this room, like a normal class, and it's Sun B, where do you think I'm placed in the room? I'm over there, not in the front, I'm over there. I'm over on the left side of the room because they're gonna come up in a warrior 2, they're gonna face that direction. So I'm there just in case I need to show what's going on. If I see that people look confused, or if I'm gonna do something that's a little bit different than what people are used to doing, I'm over there so people can see what's going on. Mhm. To give that visual cue, and that's where you wanna be thinking, like you're thinking, I say this in 200, but you time travel as a yoga teacher. You're thinking 5 steps ahead. You're like, wait, what was my theme? You're going back and forth through time. You're traveling up and down the timeline the whole time in class. Yeah. Yeah. But thank you. You're welcome. Of course. I love it. I'm like, I'm in my happy zone. I love this. Okay. Last pose. Shavasana. Oh, yay. Shavasana. Now, knowing that Shavasana, well, I would say for most people, is this easy or difficult? Difficult. Yeah, because what are we asking for? Yeah, for stillness, we're looking for some equanimity in the body and the mind, right? Can we find a little bit of both of those? We're looking for that Satchitananda, that bliss, right? Finding into that space. Now, you can use props if you all want. You can use that bolster behind the backs of your legs. You can wrap yourself like a little burrito in your blanket if you want to. So I would, if you'd like props, use them. I mean, if you don't need them, that's fine too. But if you want to, please invite yourself. Alexis, can I give you one more thing?
You're on next speaking.
Big breath out. Now know that if, work some of those fidgets out. Take a big breath out. Let it go. Nice big exhale. Can you find a little deep relaxation? Creating greater awareness. And feeling that expansiveness of your being as you're here resting. Simply watch your breath. The belly rises, you inhale. It falls with each exhale. Relax like 10% more. What would it take? Take a big breath in. Nice big exhale. Now bring a little movement, wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your nose. Move your jaw around a little bit. Roll your wrists and ankles. If it feels okay, you can gently rock your head from side to side. If your shoulders allow it, take a big stretch from head to toe. One more big exhale. And then hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a loving hug. Take a moment of gratitude for your body, for all that it does for you, all that you get to do because of it. You can blow your knees a kiss or give them a smooch. And then if you'd like, you can roll to your side or take a gentle rock and roll, coming up to seated. And just take a moment and seated. Let's find Anjali Mudra. Let's bring palms to the heart. Just take a couple breaths here. allowing yourself to rest in that center that you created, that stillness. Trusting you're on the right path. You're doing all the things. You know enough. You are enough. Take a big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Let's take one Om. Breathe in. Oh. Open. Good work. Hey, Shavasana, how do we feel about it? You're all, don't ask me now. You love it? Love it? Mhm.
It can really depend on the type of class.
Oh.
Yeah.
It can depend, say that again, it can depend on what?
The class.
The
like
class.
How vigorous it was, like if it was the sauce, it's a good sauce.
Mhm.
I really struggle with it. It's the hardest pose.
So hard.
Close my eyes. I can't close my eyes. I don't know if it's PTSD, bipolar, whatever it is. I struggle with it.
Yeah, it's hard. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. Yeah, so this is where, thanks for sharing that. And this is where variations are important. So whether it's, I said Jacob had the bolster behind the legs, right? That's one option. You might stay in seated. You might not lie down. That might not be your jam. Or you might prefer to be on your belly. That might feel better. That might feel safer. Or you can rest on your side or fill in the blank. I would say play with whatever works for you. And even if you don't want eyes closed, that's okay too. Allow your gaze to just be focused on, not just, see, I said it, just focus your gaze. Like no big deal. But focus your gaze on one spot, or maybe you have something that you always look at. Maybe you bring like, or when you practice, you always have like something that visually just like brings you peace that you have. Like you could put a sticker there, it could be whatever. It doesn't have to be super deep, but maybe it's like a colored dot, or you could always do an eye cover if that feels comfortable. And if you're like, absolutely not, then don't, like you can play with it. Those are things that come to my mind if you want to play around with like a way to like just feel comfortable during those minutes of Shavasana. But it might not look like Shavasana. Does that sound okay to try and see? Yeah. Like, and whatever, it can be any position. And some people really struggle. Like it's, it's hard. There are days it's like, right, where we can just be like pinging to be like, right, the back pain. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Same. And that's where like using the props right behind the knees can be helpful. Sometimes like a strap around the shins, because if you're really open in the hips, like you need a little more internal thigh rotation. That can be helpful. For me, I always have this left knee gets really hyperextended easily. So I have to put something at least underneath this knee. Otherwise it just locks out and it just feels like it's like grinding. And then that's like all I can think about. So I've got to like tweak, So honoring that when that comes up, like, please don't feel like you have to suffer through it, that fidget. And that's where, as a teacher, give the students permission to fidget. Say, fidget a little bit, like wiggle around, do what you need to get comfortable. Yeah, Lexi.
Sometimes for my lower back, I like to do fallen bridge because of the arch in my lower back. The fallen bridge brings my lower back down to the mat. So that feels
Yeah. Yeah. Peggy?
I definitely use a blanket a lot for my lower back, but what I was gonna share was that before I started doing Vinyasa flow, of course I did Kundalini, and they always brought you through this really intense guided relaxation. I just thought that's how everyone did it. So I was like, wait, what, you're just gonna put me here? I don't know what to do.
All right.
So now I do it with myself a lot. If I need to, I'll start at the top of my head. I'll say, relax your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Relax. I would go
A little
all the
body
way down
scan,
my
yeah.
body, and then by the end, I'd have a few minutes where I was really relaxed, but I couldn't believe all the tension I was holding in all those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Because to like lay down and go, okay, relax. You're like, okay, relax. It's hard to do that. And then, so, yeah, just doing a body scan and actually being like, wow.
That's a good idea, Peg. Yeah, that could, Sierra, that could be another thing to just try for your, if you're like,
I do it I coach my students through it before I put them in Shavasana. I do a quick body scan, and then like, it's your time.
mm-hmm.
And I just leave them alone.
Yeah.
So, well, not alone. I
Yeah.
leave them alone.
You're on your own. Yeah.
Door is locked.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just throw the dice. Yeah.
I was just gonna give like a quick point, I guess, to like the newer teachers or people who haven't taught and are going to be mindful. Because this happened to me like 3 classes into my internship. That some people don't like Shavasana, and you're used to being in a classroom full of yogis that you're teaching and like adjusting Shavasana. So you're like, okay, yeah, I got this. And then you see someone sitting up and you're like, what are you doing? That's not right. So keeping that in your mind, like, I think that's really important because it's something we forget, especially as we're in these like, usually when we're practicing these things, it's with people who are doing the yoga the way we do the yoga in here.
Mm-hmm.
So not to get like,
don't be attached to it, right?
yeah.
And how brave.
People like sit up and I'm like, we're still in Shavasana.
Yeah.
And you just got it. You're like, okay, you smile at them and just like they're taking care of themselves. The other thing too is let's learn from what I did early on in teaching of like, if you are giving that Shavasana assist, the shoulder press, that you are going up to them. So doing this for a couple of reasons. 1, warm the hands, right? 2, the energetics, because we want to just clear from the last person. 3, so they hear you coming. Because if you don't do this and you go up to someone's shoulders and they've like fallen asleep, like has done to me, I thought I was about to get like a jiu-jitsu move on me. I like pushed down, they're like, their eyes like, they're like, yeah, right. We want, and then you're like, damn it, I just ruined your Shavasana. I'm so sorry. Right? Like you yeah, Ashley.
I heard it done once in an intern class that I took, and I really liked it, and now I use it when I'm like teaching family. But if you'd like to be adjusted in Shavasana, I always say Savasana, I'm sorry. Shavasana, leave your arms out to the side. If you would prefer not to be, put them on your stomach. Because my mom and my sister hate to be adjusted during, but they love Shavasana adjustments. My dad will let you adjust him all the way until he's in Shavasana. And then he's like, do not touch me, please.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That one is tricky because when people do that, I always am like sad because then I can't lay the way I want.
That's
because then I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
my hands on my belly, but I want an assist, so now I have to
Yeah.
I just tell them to do a little like
Yeah,
finger
a little
twinkle, like
Yep.
before I get them all the way there. Like, hey, give me a little one of these if you don't want this real quick.
Yep. I would do that because yes. Because sometimes I also like Shavasana like this, but I want all the Shavasana assists. Like give them all to me. Right. And that's like, well, then I'm like, well, now I'm not comfortable. And who knows if you're actually going to adjust me. And, you know what I mean? So it's like,
if you don't want to put your hands on your stomach, if you do, put your arms out. But I already had my hands on my stomach and then I put my arms out, but I didn't get adjusted.
yeah.
So
And that's where maybe you say, if you'd rather not, you could say, just place a hand on your belly now for 10 seconds. So I can scan the room and then go to what's comfortable for you. And then you just have to like clock if you want to. I'll tell you this, I don't do that. I mean, I probably could, but I'm like, I feel like I know my students pretty well. And I don't go to like a person I just met for the first time. I don't give them that Shavasana assist because they don't know me and I don't want to scare them. So I wait till I know them before I start doing that. Yeah. Okay, friends. Now we're at time about, so we're going to clean things up a bit, but I want to just, let's throw out, what are some takeaways from all this afternoon? Let's throw out like three to five. Bodies are all different. There's no right way.
Well, I was gonna say there's no wrong way, but there is a wrong way.
Right.
There's no right way, but there is a wrong way.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Find what feels
Find what feels good. What else? How about this side of the room?
careful of your expectations.
Careful of your expectations. What? Someone else started to say something.
Safety's key.
Safety's key.
Leave your bias at the door.
Leave your bias at the door. Love.
Don't judge. I was gonna say leave your bias at the door, but
One more. Let's do one more. Balance, effort, and ease. Oh, I love that. Love it. Thanks, Trevor. Okay, can we circle up and do the word? Okay, Steph, I'm just gonna have you slide back. You just head back. And then my friends at home, props for you all. Zoom is so tough. I know. Good work. Good work. How about you two go first? Whoever wants to on Zoom, unmute on Zoom. Unmute. I don't know what I'm saying.
excited.
Great.
Depleted.
Oh, honey. Oh.
Sadhana.
Mine, sadhana as well.
Hello.
Sore.
Tired.
Sleepy.
Exhausted.
Shavasana. Dehydrated.
Fabulous.
Content. Content.
Trust. Relaxed. New friends. Serendipity.
Satkara.
Clouds.
And I'm gonna say joy. Joy. What a joy. Thank you all so much. Great work. Yes, give yourself a round of applause. Good work. I will advise you drink water. Yes, Nathaniel, drink some water, and tomorrow be gentle with yourself. Well, and through the rest when you go home and all that, like give yourself a minute before you transition back into life. So whether that's your drive home, at least give yourself a minute to be like, breathe and just like get present for it, and then be gentle tomorrow, right? It's a lot. You all just absorbed a lot of information. And reach out, right? Use your peer groups, reach out to me if you've got any questions, any of that kind of stuff. And we'll see you next month. So great job, everybody. Thank you.
I forgot this wasn't every weekend.
It's not every weekend. No. Great job at home, you guys. Thank you.
Laura, can I pick your brain about something really quickly?
Yeah.
Next month was the month I was always supposed to be Zoom because I'm going to be out of town.
Oh,
That was prior to this month happening. And now
Right.
I'm feeling a lot of feelings about, is that going to affect my learning? And do I need to cancel my trip? And I'm just worried about all that now.
No, because we've always had somebody usually online. Like we had a woman last year, she lived in Chicago and did the training. So she was online the entire time.
Okay, that makes me feel better because I texted my husband, I was like, I think we need to cancel the trip, but it's a trip going back for family reasons, so I don't think I can.
Don't do
Okay.
that. Yeah, you
Okay.
can be online. I mean, as
Okay.
long as you feel okay with it, we're okay with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I was still able to engage and I feel good about that. I think I'm just tired sickness wise, but
Yeah.
I felt like I was still able to get a lot out of it. So,
Okay, good. Yeah, and this
Okay.
is all recorded too. So remember that's all there for you.
okay.
Yeah, you're fine. We're okay with
Okay.
it. Especially knowing, yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Good. And I'll see you soon.
I'll
sometime.
see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, okay, so get there.
I gotta stop.
Stop.